Welcome to Define Your Path with DocV, bringing you real talk with global thought leaders to inspire hearts and minds for sustainable breakthroughs and profitability for your life and business. Here's your host, DocV.
Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, also known as DocV, the Pivot Maestro. Welcome to the Define Your Path podcast for those seeking to define their own path into purposed entrepreneurship. This is a show about transforming perspectives, as well as inspiring and motivating you to think without a box by exposing you to global thought leaders like my guest today and change agents and legacy builders across industries on how they successfully define their path in life and business to profitability and sustainable wins. At Defining Paths, we operate in truth, transparency, and love to help you navigate the waters of your life and put you back in business. And the Define Your Path podcast is no different. It all starts in the mind. The question, will you be the captain or the crew? Today's spotlight, folks, I'm just trying to contain myself because she is a sister from another mister. She is my profit coach. She is just phenomenal in all that she does, and in heart and soul. Folks, today's spotlight is with Susie Carder, none other than Susie Carder. Susie, let me tell you a little bit about her for those of you who don't know her. And if you don't, you need to go find out about her. Susie started out as a low-paid hairdresser, trying to support her two little girls until she decided to do whatever it took to create her own business. After much blood, sweat, and tears, she went on to create not one, but two $10 million companies. Her core genius is the ability to simplify complicated issues by creating simple, proven systems that are guaranteed to create dramatic growth. She has helped over 100,000 entrepreneurs, and yours truly is one of those, to increase their revenues by more than 3,000%. And folks, you heard me correctly, 3,000%. Susie, welcome to the show. Folks, please welcome Susie. So happy to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. And more importantly, thank you for everything that you do in the industry. I'm so proud of you and what you're up to and sharing our messages. And really what I love is you love your community. And you're so committed to your community.
Oh, well, bless you, Susie. I learned well. I've learned from some of the best, one of the best. And I just really appreciate you affirming me in that way. So I'm just super excited for the audience to hear your story and how you faced your fears to love the skin you're in and pivot into pursuing your passion and soul purpose. You know, in our podcast, we love to keep it simple, as you know. We only ask you two questions. How have you defined your path and how do you help others define theirs? And then we'll just flow between the two, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. And the spotlight is yours.
So how do I define my path? My path was defined really from my consumer, from my students. You heard me say I was a low-paid hairdresser. So I started out as a hairdresser and I found myself as a single mom raising two kids with no alimony, no child support. And my vocation was hairdressing. So I had to figure this money thing out quick. My passion, my purpose, my foundation is really teaching people their financial wealth in their business, using your business to leverage your financial wealth. I believe that wealth is our birthright. It's not for some of us, it's for all of us.
Yes.
And I started sharing my stories with my community, that industry, the beauty industry, as I started building a six-figure business and then a high six-figure business. Then I did $250,000, did $500,000, then I did $1 million in the salon industry. And the average person in that industry on a good day makes $60,000. This was back in, 2000. And so the reality was I wanted to teach people that you could do whatever you wanted to in this industry. The great thing about that industry, like our industry that we're in now, we're responsible for our financial well-being. And so as I was learning the tool, I wanted to share the tools that I had created, that I came up with, that I had to really figure out this money thing. And clients would come to me, DocV, and say, oh my gosh, do you have a book? I'm like, no, I don't have a book. I'm just a hairdresser. And they're like, if you wrote a book, we would buy it. I'm like, well, I'm going to write a book so they will buy it. And then people said, oh, I love the book, but I really don't like to read. Do you have it on audio? I'm like, no, I don't have it on audio. I just wrote this book. Buy the book. And so each product that I created started with my consumer saying, do you have that? Mm-hmm. And then when I went into the entrepreneur space, I was working in this, teaching at this millionaires forum. I was learning how to raise money. And I realized that it was an amazing training, but I realized they were teaching people how to raise money, but not build the infrastructure. So people were raising millions of dollars there, but not having infrastructure. So I went to the founder and said, you've got to teach people this systems piece. They've got to build the infrastructure. So they're just not taking people's money that they can build a business. He's like, great, you teach it. I'm like, I don't know anything about these people's businesses. He's like, you're fine. You teach it. So I started teaching. And then people would come up to me and go, oh my God, you're my coach. I want you to coach me. I'm like, I know nothing about your business. I can't do that. I was scared, right? I say God knocks.
Right.
And I was not answering. I was going, no.
Hiding under the bed.
And that's how I shifted into the entrepreneurial space. Again, my students pushed me and said, we want you to coach us. And I'm like, I'm clear. I do not know anything about being a doctor. Like when I look at DocV, people like DocV would scare me because they had the acronym in front of their name. Like, she's smarter than me. I can't coach her. And then realize business is business.
Yes.
Right? It's what's the foundation that you're doing. There's cost of goods that are different. There's expenses that are different. But the reality when you're building a business, whether it's product-based or service-based, there's strategy.
Yes.
And so that's my passion is what do we need to do to find the money, get the money, leverage the money.
Well, and that came from your personal pain, your struggle of being a single mom.
Yeah.
And then, I guess I know a little bit more about your story than the public does, and we can go there if you want to or not. But, just even growing up, I love when you rattle off all of your siblings' names. I don't know how you do that, but, just your own.
Years of being yelled at, right? As kids, you couldn't say one child's name. You had to say them all.
Exactly.
I don't know who did it.
But, I in my community also have veterans and retiring military who I serve, and you come from a military household, Navy, correct?
Yes.
And so, it was difficult for you. I mean, because I've shared with you just my whole relationship with money, my dysfunctional relationship. Hell, I didn't even realize it was a relationship because it was never there.
Most of us don't.
So I imagine, when people are like, how does someone become a profit coach? I imagine that drove you to your sole purpose and your passion.
Yeah. If you would have said, 30 years ago, I would be teaching profit, teaching about profit and loss, teaching about finances, I would have laughed you out of the room because this is not my jam. I'm like 90% of entrepreneurs out there didn't want to look at it, didn't want to figure it out, but I had to. Right. I had to really, now I've been an entrepreneur. So officially, right, for 30 years, but I started being an entrepreneur at 10 years old. Mm-hmm. Right. As you said, I grew up in a very large household. There were 9 children. We had 1,200 square feet. We had 1 bathroom, 6 girls. There was Bobby, Ronnie, Stevie, Terry, Joni, Shelley, Susie, Kelly, Debbie. And so my all I learned about money is there is none, don't ask. If you want it, go get a job. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted things because you couldn't, like kids can go, hey, I want to go to the movie. Can I have $10? The answer was nope. Go get a job. Right. Oh, I need new school clothes. Nope. Go get a job. Right. And with 9 kids, there's 2 under me. Right. So there's 3 girls ahead of me. Right. Mm-hmm. 3 girls ahead of me. Everything was a hand-me-down. And when I say everything, girl, I mean everything.
Everything.
So my first job, I just wanted my own underwear. That's all I wanted. I just want my own underwear.
And why is that where my mind went immediately when you said everything?
Because it was everything. That's gross, right? And I'm like, I am not sharing my underwear. So I got my little job. I did yard work. I cleaned houses. I did babysitting. Anything you wanted me to do for money, I would do so that I could, get the things that I wanted. Go to the movie, buy my own underwear, hid my underwear from my sisters under my pillow. Like I had my underwear stash. I didn't realize this. I was like 30 some years old in Victoria's Secret. I'm like, what is my fascination with underwear? I don't need anymore. Like I'm literally buying underwear again. I'm like, I don't need underwear. I'm like, oh, I never had any. Right. So I hoarded underwear. So So funny. Like the things are childhood, right? And a lot of our wealth programming is inherited by our parents, our grandparents, our churches, our communities, whatever your beliefs are. And we never retweak those. We never decide, well, what are my beliefs around money?
Right.
My belief was there is no don't ask, or if you want it, go work hard. The biggest breakthrough that I've had to have is not have to kill myself to make money, right? Not have to work hard. Like, wait, right. I had this epiphany. Can I make this money without being totally exhausted and have to take the whole weekend to recover just to be able to
right.
get up one day and do work again? Right. Mm-hmm. You can have some balance, yeah. right? There can be flow. There can be holistic success inside of your business, inside of your life, whether you work for a company, whatever it is. There can be holistic success. I had to go back and reprogram my financial beliefs that were not mine, but I inherited them.
Right.
And so I want each person listening to go, well, what are those beliefs that I inherited from my church, from my community, from my parents? Or what did I see? Because I don't know about you, but my parents did not talk about money. Like they didn't talk about a savings plan, a strategy, a budget. We didn't get any of that. Mm-hmm. Right. So I learned, don't talk about it. Right. I think I asked my dad one time, oh, that's your paycheck. How much was it? And you thought I asked him, like, I don't know, some top secret agent. He was appalled. He said that was rude. You don't ask people how much money they make. I'm like, you're my dad. Why can't I ask you? I had my little job, right? I was working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, so I had my little job. I'm like, well, what do you make? Here's what I make. I was all excited. Oh, apparently you don't talk about money. That's rude. Right. But the reality is we got to talk about it, right? When you think about the topics that if we're not talking about it, how else will we know? Right. Everybody wants more money. Right. Everybody wants to have more sex and intimacy, but nobody wants to talk about either of those topics. Like, why? Just talk about it. Right. Money is freedom. Money gives us opportunity. Money gives us choices, right? To do better in the world, to do more in the world, to be able to support more people, right? To be able to provide to yourself and your family. Right. So I think it's important for us to realize there's no shame in it. Right. It's a muscle to build, to look at, a budget, build a muscle, right? Planning your sales strategy is a muscle.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it seems the bottom line is removing those taboos, that social cultural, programming, that underpinning, cause us to think, oh, we can't talk about this, or, oh, this is not for a woman, like the entrepreneurial path. So let's kind of talk about that and how it's tied into how you help others define their path.
Well, the clients I work with, they know their why. Mm-hmm. They may not know how to get to the why, but they know there's a bigger calling. They know there's a bigger thing I want to do in the world. And so part of my job is to see where's the money, right? So you can, I don't know if your mom said this. My parents said it. You can fall in love with a rich man or a poor man, choose, right? You can have money. You cannot have money, choose. Right. I realized early on that I wasn't going to find the rich man. I'm going to make my own money because nobody's going to tell me what to do. Nobody's the boss of me.
That was me. That's why I pretty much given up the ghost until recently.
Right. So creating this conversation is, I can create my destiny. Now, I got into personal development and self-development really early on. I got into multi-level marketing. Mm-hmm. And I got into it. I loved cosmetics. I loved making people beautiful. So it was a nice fit, but I got a ton of business education and personal development. Mm-hmm. We always say your net worth will only go as high as your self-worth.
Yes.
And my self-worth, when I first started in sales and first started working in business, was low. I had low self-esteem, right? I married an abusive man who, verbally abusive, physically abusive, that squashes any self-esteem that you had.
Right.
And so I had to rebuild myself in valuing myself and then valuing my services, right? To charge what I was worth. A lot of times we don't value ourselves enough to charge what we're worth. And we're walking around going, well, what does DocV charge? Well, what does Susie charge? What does Melanie charge? What does Bob charge? Okay, I'll charge this. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with pricing.
Right.
Yes, there's competitive analysis, but your overhead's different. My overhead's different. right? Your overhead in the state that you're in is different than my overhead in my state and or country for that matter, right? And so you have to be able to look at apples to apples and what's my overhead, in New York and Los Angeles and San Diego, overhead's just higher in general, right? I recently moved from San Diego to Oregon and my overhead is one-tenth of what it was in San Diego. And I wasn't frivolous there, and I'm definitely not frivolous here. I'm saving so much money. I'm like, holy cow, cost of living just dramatically dropped. And because of where I choose to live. And so everything's a choice to go, oh, now there's different things I loved about being in the city, different things I loved about being here. But the reality is there's a formula and a system for everything that we do. You just have to know what that is.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes people get stuck with that or in that because they think, oh, it's a formula or a system. Oh, it's a box. No, it's not a box. It's a strategy. And what you're really good at, you just helped me tremendously, open me up to just that understanding of choice, that we have the ability to choose. And, it is okay if we change our mind, if we redefine, we always have this fear of, oh, if I change my mind, what is that? I grew up in the Christian faith. So, what is that? The scripture about a double-minded man is unstable in all their ways, and so that type of programming is detrimental and debilitating to how we operate if you take it with the wrong interpretation or what have you. And you're really good at helping people understand, that it's okay to change your mind, to pivot, to redefine yourself. And to pursue your passion and sole purpose. So, I know when I was mulling over whether or not to leave that parallelpreneur life, as we call it in the community, and just fully pursue the entrepreneurial path. You were a huge supporter and voice for me because I was not living out my sole purpose and I was allowing my light to be dimmed. So what are your thoughts about that? And I was putting up with all kind of stuff that most of us do, particularly as women, particularly as Black women in the world, in the workplace. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you have to decide for yourself, like listen, you got to be quiet first. You've got to listen to the message. I'm going to say God's, but whatever your higher calling is, your higher being, that voice in your head. Now, sometimes you shouldn't listen to that voice. That voice is cuckoo. I don't want you to listen to that voice. The challenge is you have to discern, is that the cuckoo voice or is that God, right? If I hear it over and over and over again, okay, I know that's God. That's my higher voice. It's not my naysayer that says I can't.
Right.
That says I'm not good enough. That says, who's going to believe you? Not that voice. I'm talking about the voice that says, I remember clearly and distinctly, God said to me, go speak. I'm like, what do you mean go speak? I'm a hairdresser, right? I'm giving you that context so you can look at, I'm a hairdresser, but I needed to make money for my children. And he said, go speak. I'm like, I'm not a speaker. Number one fear in life is public speaking. I'd rather go burn in hell than speak publicly. But I could be in front of 50 women and speak and share. And there, the survey was that women and men, that my target market was women, that groom professionally, have professional appearance, take inventory of the way that they look, the way they present themselves, earn 25% more than people who don't. And so that was my springboard. Like, let me help you earn 25% more, right? Let's do your hair, your makeup, let's work on your professional presence. And so when I heard God say that, I'm like, you are cuckoo pants. I'm not going to do it. But it turned into this 30-year career of speaking and training. And I'm an introvert. I'm naturally an introvert. In 9 kids, you learn how to hide. You learn how to be invisible. And so now all of a sudden, being an entrepreneur, you can't be invisible. No one's going to hold the flag but you. No one's going to be your biggest fan but you. So I had to learn how to painstakingly. It was so hard, Doc V. I hated it. I didn't like it. I don't like talking to strangers. I still don't. If you are with me and we go to a stranger's party, not my party, like a networking event, I'm going to stick to you like white on rice. I'm not letting you go. We got to go in together. We got to have a strategy to talk to these random strangers. And people are always surprised, but that I have to gear up to get in this persona.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we don't want to do what it takes to be successful because it's hard. Of course it's hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it, right? It is hard and it's rewarding. And so it took me years. Like I remember going to my first it was trade show. I was sick. I had to go to the bathroom. I was throwing up. I'm telling my partner, I can't go. I'm sick. I was really physically ill. Really physically ill. And he's like, thank you for sharing. And we're going. I'm like, I can't go. Crying, girl. I was making a fuss, drama. And he just said, thank you for sharing. And he made me hand out these buttons. These buttons said, supercharge your sales with Susie Fields, right? Because that was my name. And I had to hand out these buttons at this trade show. And people were like, oh, who's Susie Fields? I'm like, she's amazing. She's speaking tomorrow. And then they'd come in the room and they would look at me, point and laugh and go, you're her. I'm like, I know. Because I couldn't tell them, oh, it's me. I felt so, braggadocious. But that's the stuff you have to get through, right? That's why it's so important to have your ride or die community.
Yes.
Like, you get scared. You got to have somebody like me, someone like Dr. V going, girl, you got this. Like, I see you. You got this. I think that's why I can see what God has in store for you. I can see your greatness. I can see beyond your limitations. I can see beyond what you see for yourself. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yes.
And so if you look at your life, everything you do has a system. Think about it. You get in a car, you have a system. Yes, what do you do first? Do you put your seatbelt on? Do you start the engine? Do you adjust your mirrors? Do you turn on the air? Do you turn on the heat? Do you turn on the heat warmer, the hand warmer? What do you do, right, when you get in a car, and how do you drive? There's a system, right? What side of the road you go on. If you go to Europe, you go on the wrong side, you're getting in an accident. There's a system there. There's a system here. Different system. You got to follow those rules versus these rules. If you think about when you get up in the morning, there's a system for how you get dressed. Some people get up, go get their coffee. Some people get up, go brush their teeth. Some people get up, go right in the shower. Some people get up, they lounge, they pray, they do whatever they do before they start their day. That's a system, whether you call it that or not. And so when you look at it, that helped me see, oh, I'm already really good at some systems. Right. I had like meal prep for my kids so that I could work. I had a workout schedule so that this is our vehicle. I had to stay in shape and eat right. And I'm boring. I have the same grocery list. I go buy the same thing.
Really, sister?
Yeah, buy the same things. I have the same. I revolve the menu every couple weeks, but it's pretty much the same menu because it's a system. I don't have to think about it. And so when you look at that and go, it does make my life easier. And so in business, in finances, in creating your wealth, it's systemic, right? I had to reinvent that wealth is my birthright. I didn't believe that, right? I believed we grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. We were poor, right? We had no money. We had, our school shopping was the Goodwill and garage sales. That was our school shopping because there was 9 kids. Like I get it now. As a kid, we would go like if DocV and I were friends, I'd go to her house and her garage sale and I'm buying her clothes from last season, but whatever, that's what we had to do.
It was normal.
Right. There was a time in my life, girl, I would not buy anything on sale and I would only pay the most because I could afford it. Now I look at it like, what a ding dong. But I had to do that to feel accomplished and feel worth and value. Yeah. I didn't feel that way as a kid.
Absolutely.
Right? To feel worth and value. And that's most of us. What are you doing to validate your worth and value? Some people overeat. Some people drink. Some people shop. Some people have sex. Some people do drugs. Some people gamble. That's all to fill a hole. And so when I say your net worth only goes as high as your self-worth, what is the thing that's going to stop you from attracting the kind of wealth you deserve and that you desire? Only you can answer that question. I can't answer that. Doc V can't answer it, but we can guide you to where do you need to go and what do you need to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you said something a moment ago, and I don't know if the audience caught it, but I want to bring it back out because I know you also operate in truth, transparency, and love. But you stated, so even the great Susie Carder, who has worked with and who's made a bunch of very household names famous and built their empires, even you struggle with imposter syndrome. Because a lot of people they're not jumping off the cliff, to follow the entrepreneurial path, because they feel like, oh, how would I do this? I don't know how to do this. I'm not worthy. I don't have the skills or what have you. But, as a lot of us, we build it as we're flying or as we're sailing the boat.
Well, part of, ignorance is bliss in a lot of ways of not knowing, like, what you have to do to take it on. I think what I see where people fail is they have what I call a back door. And when I first met you, you had the back door called
Girl, look, I had multiple doors.
Right. You had your JOB. That was the back door, meaning I can build this thing, but there's no urgency to build it. Where right now you don't have that JOB. There is an urgency. There's a different tenacity. There's a different, there's no comfort zone anymore. Right. And to go, well, I didn't have that. Right. I got divorced and all of a sudden no alimony, no child support, no support from him at all. I'm like, I got to figure this out. I couldn't go back to my family. My family wouldn't support me. Right. That's a whole nother podcast. Right. And racial diversity.
Right.
Or lack of in my family.
Lack of.
Right. And to go, oh, when you don't have that back door, you see the dignity of human spirit. You see what you're made of. Think of any challenging time you had in your life. That's where character is built. Like you had one of the most tumultuous years in the last couple of years. I want to say 2 years between personal people dying around you from, no agreement in your job, that parallelpreneur to just hardship. And your character spoke louder than your situation. You said, not on my watch, I'm going to make this happen. And I watched you. I think that's why you were one of the star students, because even when the world was conspiring against you, you said, oh, hell no, I'm going to make this work. Right? And that's what I find with entrepreneurs. You got to get to that, oh, hell no.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to make this happen. I remember going to public assistance office and trying to apply for food stamps or support or like the people in my community, they were getting the Section 8 and I didn't know what any of that was. Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, you don't qualify. I'm like, why don't I qualify? Because I had a job and the job I had, I was making $1,200 a month. Raising 2 children. And I'm like, well, that's not enough. They're like, you make too much money. I'm like, oh, well, hell no. I'm not going to give this up so I can make that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Right. And so the world was conspiring against me. It was not supporting me. Everywhere I went to my family and they're like, no, you disobeyed us. You're out of the family. Right. I'm like, my ex-husband, no, you disobeyed me. You're out of the circle. Right. Thank God for my girlfriends because they rallied and said, we'll help you. We'll do whatever. And so that your community is just as important, like who you choose. I know everybody says that. You're the sum of the 7 people you hang out with. Okay, but it is true, right? People can support you or people can go against you and keep you small or help you play bigger.
Absolutely. And that's why
that's defining your path, girl.
Look, because I'm over here speechless, but you're absolutely right. And just your true rags to riches story, that's real life. It's real. And it's what so many of us have faced and dealt with, And so I love the fact that you're just so transparent about it. And I have no doubt that you're already, just giving life to people who are listening to the podcast or watching our YouTube channel. So I just thank you for everything that you do, Susie, for who you are. Some people, they might not get you at first, but, look.
That happens.
It happens. It happens. And perhaps that's a part of your secret sauce. You've never let on about that. But, please, I can't believe our time is just running like this. But I would love for you just to give some of your wisdom, your advice. What do you want to say to the people, about just choosing themselves, and pursuing their path, defining their own path as opposed to allowing others to define it for them?
Well, I think the biggest thing I want to leave people with is whatever situation you're having in your life, your cause in the matter. Your cause in the matter of everything that you do. Your cause in the matter of the greatness that you create. Your cause in the matter of the drama you create. And when you realize that, when I realized that I was the cause, both positive and negative, consciously or unconsciously, that's when my life shifted. To go, I want to be someone different and do something different, right? I remember my kid's dad was on top of me. We were fighting, like physically on top of me, screaming at me, yelling at me. We're hitting each other. And I turn to the right and I see my 18-month-old daughter, 12-month-old daughter, bawling, screaming to get us to stop. Mm. But that was my love language. That's what I learned as a child, that was normal. And I immediately said, I'm choosing this. I'm staying in this. For whatever reason, I had reasons, afraid, I couldn't do it on my own, whatever the story was. And that day I made a decision. I need to leave for my children and my daughters. I don't want this to be a legacy that continues. It already gone down for multiple generations, right? My mother, her mother, who knows her mother before her? I don't know. And the reality is I chose. We get to choose. And it's not, no one says it's going to be easy. There's no sprinkle fairy dust. But you know that there's a path that you should be following, and you're just here and you got to jump. The thing is, you'll be around a community that will support you, not do it for you. Please hear me. Nobody did it for me. I had to be on the floor. I had bloody knees, bloody elbows, right? I had to pick my own self up again to make my way and to change the life for my children. That was my bigger why. And defining, like, I'm going to do this. I don't need to be in this situation anymore. And so whatever your calling is, whatever your path is, whatever your purpose is, go in the direction of where your calling is. It will keep getting clear. I didn't know. People said, write a book. I don't know how to do that. Okay, I'm going because God said to. People said to. Go do this. Okay, God said to. I'm going to do this. I don't know how to do it. And that's entrepreneurship, is you figure it out, like you said, while we're building the airplane, while we're flying, while we're soaring, and along the way, there's dips and there's valleys and there's challenges, but that builds character.
Yeah.
So if anything, we want to give you hope today. Hope for a new reality, hope for a possibility, whatever situation you're in, whether you're just starting building, whether you're taking your business to that next level and you're in this plateau or you're in this funk, that there is possibility for you on the other side.
Absolutely. Susie Carder. Girl, you are hope, you are inspiration, you are life. And folks, if you didn't catch all those diamonds, you want to make sure you listen to this episode multiple times.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much for being our spotlight today. I know you are super busy, and I just really appreciate you. I appreciate you, walking your talk and being here for your community, and just love you to death.
I love you too. Never too busy for you, girl.
I appreciate it. Audience, I want you to be sure to follow Susie Carder on social media. Susie, what's the best place you want them to connect?
Yeah, so our best place is go to our website, right? And it's my name, Susie Carder, C-A-R-D is in dollar or dinero, E-R. All my social handles are the same, Susie Carder. So go there, find us. We've got a YouTube page, Instagram, Facebook. Start consuming the education and the information. So I look forward to supporting you. Come, we've got a ton of free gifts for you to try. We've got events that you can come to. DocV is going to be speaking at our event in September.
I was going to say.
A live event in September. A live, real event. Live in person event. Our first one since we have this COVID pandemic, and we look forward to serving you there. So come check us out. Come to our website. We'd love for you to participate in that. And both of us have so many ways that we can play together to start building this journey of finding your path, defining your path, and creating a profitable path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're ready to transform, going through transition, career, life, we're here for you. Come be with us in San Diego. Oh my God, that's going to be a blast. And so you can connect with Susie again at those resources she mentioned, as well as from our Define Your Path podcast platform. You can read her full bio. And folks, be sure to visit our virtual home at Defining Paths with an S, PATHS.online. We're always up to quite a bit. And we're bringing you greatness like Susie Carder on our Define Your Path podcast. Folks, I am DocV, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. Be true to you and define your path. We'll see you on our next episode. Thanks again, Susie. Appreciate you, girl.
You've been listening to Define Your Path with DocV. To learn how to see with true vision and define your path, visit definingpaths.online/true-vision.